By this time, you might have heard our Premier Trudeau announce some of the major changes to help out the renters from the 2024 budget on March 28, which wasn't too long ago. Basically, there are 3 ideas introduced and they are supposed to help tremendously for the renters. However, the more I listen to them, does it really? In my opinion, I think it would be better for the landlords. Let's get to it right after this. Hey, welcome back to another video on the AV Team Real Estate channel. I'm Antonio and I am a local real estate agent in the GTA. If you have been enjoying the weekly video from this channel, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so that you can be shared with more people who want to get updated on the real estate market in Toronto. Greatly appreciate it. If you have any inquiries about the real estate, don't hesitate to contact me via the first link in the description down below. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau declared earlier this week that provisions intended especially for younger renters will be included in the next government budget. If you have rented before in Ontario, you are probably familiar with the standard lease agreement. This standard lease form was mandated to be included in any lease in Ontario. It has been in effect for quite some time, so it shouldn't be any surprise. But this time around, the federal government wanted to include the price history so that the new renter could use this history to negotiate the rent. I doubt that the federal government recognized the existing rent trend in the current market. All of this data is essentially available on social media for anyone to find with aid of numerous open applications and websites. I would probably argue that this actually helped the case for the landlord for less negotiation to bring the rental price to market rent. So let me give a real world situation in the market. Let's say in the same building, the condo unit was rented last week for $2,000. The new tenant saw the price rent history that was listed 2 years ago for $1,200. Do you think the landlord will accept the $1,200 while there are other candidates that are offering a market rent of $2,000 or more, since a similar unit in the same building was just rented for that price? If there are no demands, of course the price will go down under normal circumstances, but in reality the price would most likely go according to what the market permits, especially when we are experiencing the lowest vacancy rate in Ontario. Or let's flip the scenario. If, for example, the rent went down due to the fact that many pre-constructions were at occupancy this year. Many condo units were available at the same time, so tenants had more options and the rents suffered pressure and went down in price. Let's say the most recent rent was $2,000 last year in a condo, but a similar unit in the same area with the same condition and age of the building was rented recently for $1,700. Based on the price history, does that mean the tenant will offer $2,000 knowing that the rent was $1,700? So see, at the end of the day, the rent will always follow the market rent instead. Basically, in my opinion, the price history will not have a big impact on driving the rental price down. In fact, I think the price history helps the landlord prove their unit price quicker. And in a good market, I think that could impact the price going higher if there are more tenants in competition. Now, let's move on to the second proposed protection for this Bill of Rights for Rentals, in which the federal government will create a $15 million fund for provincial legal aid organizations to help tenants fight landlord abuse and renovictions when a landlord evicts a tenant by saying they need to do significant renovations. Basically, there are only 3 scenarios where the landlord could renovate the property when it is rented. 1 is that you intended to tear down the rented property. 2, in order to conduct a major repair or renovations, the rental unit must be vacant. However, your renter is free to reoccupy the rental after the work is completed, and you are required to provide an alternate acceptable rental during the renovation period. Thirdly, you want to turn the rental property into a non-residential property. Although this were the policy, more often than not, people think the landlords are always using the renovation as an excuse to kick tenants out. So the government is creating this $15 million fund for a provincial legal aid organization to help tenants fight the landlord if such a thing happens. Yes, I agree that if the landlord is abusing the system by using the renovation as an excuse to kick tenants out, they should get penalized. But on the other hand, we could also hear tenants abuse the system the other way around by holding landlord rental units hostages and demanding cash for keys. I'm sure if you Google cash for keys in today's market, you could find many tenants are abusing this strategy to make landlord give up if not $10,000 or $20,000 before leaving the units. Of course, the landlord could take the tenants to court and evict them, but that would require time and legal fees. So it is really not worth it for the landlord to take that action. Additionally, the tenant would not even think about paying rent while the landlord was waiting for the court date. So it is simply not worth it for the landlord to take that action. Is that fair? Let me know in the comment below, but I personally don't think that is fair for the landlord. Anyway, this fund is meant to help the renters in case they need to fight the landlord in regards to rental evictions. The last proposal from the federal government for this Bill of Rights for renters was to change federal rules so that making rental payment on time would count towards someone's credit score. This is by far the best proposed idea out of the three, and I would love to see it implemented as soon as possible. In the past, bad tenants, such as those who missed or made late payment, were never reflected in or accounted for by their credit score. In fact, many bad tenants don't get affected in any way by this behavior, and they end up renting another unit as if nothing happened. If this is accounted toward the credit score, I'm sure that would benefit the landlords by filtering bad tenants, which in the past was the only way to find out was by contacting the previous landlord. Yes, this can also benefit the renter if they are good tenants who always pay on time, which is another way to improve their credit score. But like I said earlier, this can hugely benefit the landlords as well. I strongly agree that this should be implemented way earlier. Alright, do you find that with these changes it can help the young renters to lower the rent, or at the very least stabilize the rent from going too high? I still think that there is little to no effect from the proposal, but I like the idea that adding the rent history to the credit score would be a great idea so that there is more transparency in the transactions. If you find this information valuable and informative, don't forget to like the video and consider subscribing. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.